Good afternoon, dear viewers. Welcome to our first episode of the Yumi App Startup Experience, in which R&D Center and Stars AI, together with the Ministry of Digital Transformation and the Ukrainian Startup Foundation, unites the startup community in the ecosystem of leading experts. And we are glad to introduce you our first guest, Pavlo Shabalin, co-founder of Marvel Fusion. Good afternoon, Pavlo.
Доброго дня, Павло.
Good evening. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for joining us. We are sure that our participants will be very happy to meet you today and learn more about your business and how you developed your startup. Because for them, this is the first step. I think most of them are still at the beginning stage and are learning how to run their own business properly. So, dear our participants, the first stage of our video is the main questions. We will be very grateful for your support, so if you have any questions, write them in the comments in the chat.
Якщо ви маєте якісь питання, пишіть нам їх у коментарях у чатику.
And the first question. Pavlo, tell us how the idea of starting your startup came about. Where did you start?
Well, the idea came up. It is very interesting where to start, but our goal is to create a new energy source, electric energy, with the help of nuclear fusion. This idea is not new and it has existed for many years. I don't know, maybe like 70 years.
Ідея не нова, вона існує вже багато років, знаю, 70, напевно.
But for a long time, it was believed that this technology would never be implemented. And it's a joke that nuclear fusion is 30 years old in the future, and this situation has existed for 50 years. And we decided that there is a possibility that this situation can be changed and this can be done in the next 10 years.
Дуже цікаво.
Very interesting. And tell me more, how do you want to change this situation and turn it into your direction?
Я думаю, що якщо
I think that if we look at the market, we understand that our idea has a lot of users. We want to make electricity that is not connected to the combustion with the release of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And that's what we'll all need. I think that most people will agree that it is necessary for us to have this land in 200 or maybe 300 years so that we can continue to live here. But from technological side, it is possible to do it.
That's what I thought.
The most important for us was the development of the nuclear reactors. And we believe that the most significant advancement in this field has been the development of lasers. Over the last 2 decades, the use of lasers has enabled us to make significant progress in the development of nuclear reactors. The use of lasers has allowed us to conduct precise nuclear calculations, which are crucial for the synthesis of the nuclear fuel. This technology has enabled us to create a safer and more efficient way of producing nuclear energy. However, we understand that not everyone may be familiar with the difference between synthesis and nuclear calculations.
So I think it will be cool.
We know that fusion works as the first way to produce energy in the universe. It's what happens in the mirrors, and we've already done it in the hydrogen bomb. We know that we have been able to achieve certain things on the ground, but until recently we were unable to do so in a nuclear reactor or an electrical power plant. When we compare the development of lasers, so that half sensor lasers with transistors, we can see a pattern known as the Moore's law. The empirical law states the number of transistors on crystal doubles every 2 years, and this trend has continued for many decades. The first observation of this phenomenon was made many years ago, and it has continued to hold true to this day. In the mid-1980s, the new technology called cipher pulse amplification was introduced, which allowed for the enhancement of laser pulses. This resulted in exponential advancement in laser quality, energy, and intensity. Over the past 30 years, this exponential growth has continued. Based on this trend, we believe that we have already reached a significant milestone in the last technology. Thanks to these advancements, we can now use this technology to create a nuclear synthesizer.
Wow, that sounds very interesting. And actually, you don't need to fly to space for that, right? You can do this on Earth?
Власне, на землі.
Yes, it is possible to use this technology externally. Although it seems like a concept of science fiction, it can indeed be utilized for space flights. Essentially, it offers a single fuel unit that can generate much more energy than any of the chemical processes currently in use.
Палива доставати набагато більше енергії у порівнянні з будь-якими хімічними процесами, які ми використовуємо сьогодні.
Tell me, Pavlo, where did you get such knowledge? Do you have any experience, or maybe you have a past experience that connected with such interesting
Цікавими
technologies?
технологіями.
Ні.
Ні.
Я думаю,
Well,
що
I would like to answer to these questions further during our conversation, while also unravel some topics along the way how I have become such a specialist. Originally, I came to this point through IT sphere. I worked as a software developer for a long time, and through my career, I have primarily worked for startups. I had very little experience working for large corporations, with the exception of a brief stint as a software developer for a big bank. Fusion is my third startup. It is the latest addition to my entrepreneur journey, although I had a few other ventures before, and I don't consider them as a startups. Before Fusion, I had a company that specialized in producing business-to-business software in fintech, a subfield of financial technology. And through my career, I've been involved in IT or information technology until I founded Marvel Fusion.
Дуже цікаво. А
That's
як
good.
саме тоді
How did you get
прийшли
to
до
this
успіху
high-tech
в
startup?
технологічній
Can you share with
Можете з
us?
нами поділитися цим?
It may sound like a joke, but anyway,
Так, звісно, нам теж цікаво послухати.
I believe that there's a category of startups that specialize in deep technology, which involves in the development of the research of advanced technologies. In these startups, the ideas of a single individual are not as significant as the collective efforts of a team or specialist. A single expert can develop such a project alone.
Yes, sure. We are glad to hear it.
Я думаю, що це не так принципіально, які я мав.
Therefore, I think that is not as mandatory as I had in other projects. We explored the connection between nuclear physics and the project. We had the opportunity to meet and work with various individuals in the company, getting to know them better in the process. Our collaboration with those individuals helped us gain a deeper understanding of the project from their perspective.
Yes, it's really great. You can say that the idea of a startup is not always born in one person, but very often it is found either in the team or in the idea of one person. They are in the same mind and later continues this business.
Правильно ж?
Правильно.
Based on my personal experience, it's been observed that investors tend to invest in teams rather than solely in technology or innovative ideas. However, it is important to note that every statement contains an element of truth and a little bit of lie. I have witnessed several instances where a group of 3 or 4 individuals came together with this shared goal or creating something interesting. They were already acquainted with each other and were confident that they could make a great team. Those teams worked together and eventually went to create successful startups. This goes to show what a team with a shared vision and great working dynamic can often be more important than just having innovative ideas or advanced technology.
It often happens that some joint keys come of the team of the same sort.
Also, I see that very often that is true for us. The first idea changes very much in the first years of the startup. Another aspect is that one of the great risks of the startup is when people think they have a brilliant idea, product of technology, and expect others to understand it. This is a difficult reality for me because I am a technician myself. I came from the technical side. I came to all of this from the outside, and I can't and I don't like to work in sales. But for many years, I realized that it doesn't work out for me, and you have to find your idea, bring it to the people, and explain why it is needed and why it is interesting and why people should buy it and will need it.
очікують, що всі інші це також зрозуміють.
Так,
Yes,
звісно,
of
тому
course,
що в команді
because the
мають
team
бути різні
has to have
фахівці, так,
different
і,
specialists and
різні
different
сторони,
sides,
як і
both business
бізнес-сторона,
and
технічна
technical,
сторона,
who
які
have to be
мають,
the part of the same
згодом,
startup,
скластися в
which
один
should
стартап,
bring
який
benefits and
має
money to
приносити
its founders.
користь, ну і, власне,
And for
приносити
this, you need to
кошти
get the
бізнес-власникам.
right team.
А для цього
So please,
потрібно,
tell us, how
набрати
did you
правильну
find
команду,
your
так?
co-founders
Ось
or
скажіть, будь
people
ласка,
with the
як
same
ви
mind
знайшли
with whom you
своїх,
make this idea and
співзасновників,
this
так, або
startup?
людей-однодумців, які з вами разом розробили цю ідею, цей стартап? Це було
Я
важко?
хочу сказати, що я якось знайшов...
I found my people in my own unique way. It is not a recipe or a device that can be applied to others, so it may not work out for everyone. I have seen different ways that work out just fine. I knew who I was going to work with, some of my co-founders, and I trusted them. I did not know the other people, but talking to people and doing small projects with them helps you understand what motivates them. Startups require a certain kind of motivation. People who want to make a change look for inconvenient solutions and are not afraid of making mistakes. Quality is the ability to stand up and walk even after falling down. It is also about not letting go of your hand.
Of course, we should always try because maybe today it didn't work out, but tomorrow it's your decision or innovation to change the world. Because it often happens when the entrepreneurs create their business, they don't even know that in the next few years it can bring such grandiose changes to the industry or in the world. Please tell me, since this startup is so high-tech, where are you planning to look for investment, or maybe you are already involved in investment? After all, the costs are probably on the equipment and the process itself is quite expensive.
Our startup has been in operation for 5 years now and have grown significantly over the period with 70 employees currently in our team. We have invested a considerable amount of money in our business and we plan to invest even more in the future. Our focus is on developing cutting-edge technologies that are costly to build and will require significant funding to achieve our goals. We are working on technology that can produce a limitless amount of cheap electricity. This technology has the potential to revolutionize the energy industry, allowing us to plant forests across Africa, produce hydrogen for energy transmission and storage, and much more. However, this technology is still in the testing phase and comes with the significant risks, which we need to mitigate. Our investors need to understand that the project they are investing is not a standard venture capital project. Unlike most VC projects, where the investors expect to see cash flow within 5 years and profits over the period, our project requires a long-term investment. They need to understand that they may not see profits within the next 10 years, and we need to work with them differently to manage their expectations. To reduce risk and mitigate potential challenges, we need to be systematic in our approach. We are continually working to identify potential risks and develop strategies to minimize their impact. We need to explain these strategies to our investors and demonstrate our understanding of potential risks. By doing so, we can help our investors feel more confident in our project success and show them why we believe in our ability to achieve our goals.
Of course, this is a very useful advice because in the first rounds of investment, for example, sometimes startups don't know how big the risk they can face in the future. Therefore, it's always necessary to conduct this de-risking from time to time, as you have already said, and recognize the risks that are critical and correct them.
Які є критичними, і їх виправляти. Але в цьому і сенс підприємництва. Тобто завжди є якісь ризики, але потрібно шукати шляхи їх запобігання. Так?
Так.
Чудово.
Great.
Добре, тоді я
Then
думаю,
I think
можемо
we can
переходити
move
до
on the
наступного
next
етапу
stage of
нашого
our
інтерв'ю,
interview,
де ми
where we
будемо
will also
давати
give
відповіді
answers to
на
questions from
питання
our
від наших
participant
учасників
startups.
стартапів.
Because I
їх
think
багато
there
чого
are many
цікавить.
interesting
Тут
things.
зібралися
There are
різні
many
стартапи з
startups
різних
with
галузей,
different branches,
і тому
and
питання можуть
therefore
бути різні.
the questions
Але
can be
ми,
different.
з паном
But
Павлом
we will
спробуємо
try to
на
answer them with Pavlo.
Давайте
Let's
відповімо
answer
на таке
such a
специфічне
specific
і
and
цікаве
interesting
питання.
question.
Чи потрібно
Is it
для
necessary
ваших
for your
технічних
technical
операцій
operations to
Helium-3?
have a helium-3?
Ні, це дуже цікаве питання.
No, that's a good question. Nuclear synthesis can be achieved through various components, and there are plenty of possibilities and questions. The most common method is DT, deuterium tritium, which involves using those two elements which can be found in water. With two neutrons and three neutrons, which are the easiest to synthesize, the problem is that tritium does not exist in normal nature. It needs to be produced, for example, in reactors of ordinary nuclear power plants. This is a problem in itself.
Які найлегше синтезувати. Проблема в тому, що трітіум не існує в природі нормальній, його потрібно виробляти, наприклад, в реакторах звичайних ядерних електростанцій. Тобто це проблема сама в собі.
Helium-3 is a promising fuel for fusion reactions, and several startups are exploring its potential. However, the major issue with the helium-3 is that it is extremely rare on Earth, almost non-existent. It can only be found on the moon or in trace amounts and only for a few months.
Практично його немає на Землі, але багато, наприклад, на місяці. І, тобто його можна також чи виробляти в якихось інших реакторах, чи привозити з місяця якось.
So what? Do you fly to the moon every time?
We have different plans of obtaining the necessary components for the reactions of PB, proton Bohr. We can either produce them in other reactors or bring them from the moon. Both of those components are available on Earth in infinite quantities.
Звісно, в обмеженій кількості, але дуже багато.
In a limited amount, thorium can produce significantly more energy compared to uranium or any other materials. To give an example, just one truck of thorium fuel can provide enough energy to power a city like Munich during the whole year.
Міста, наприклад, для Мюнхена на протязі року.
Oh, that's nice.
Оце так.
Буде достатньо на багато років.
There will be enough fuel for many years, enough for all of us if it works.
Що це буде працювати.
Although there are some difficulties with the type of fuel.
Паливом, але тут
And with all being said, I guess we have enough details about helium-3.
Helium-3 ми не потребуємо.
Ага.
Thank you for your answer. It
Але це було
was
досить
very
цікаве
interesting
питання,
question.
тому, напевно,
I guess our
наші
viewers
глядачі все ж
know
таки знають,
something about it,
чому
about
питаєте,
the
чи ви не
specific
літаєте
things.
щоразу на місяць.
I think someone has already asked.
Yes, of course. Okay, let's go to the
Добре,
next
давайте
question.
наступне питання.
You have a
У вас
technology startup.
технологічний
Do you
стартап.
have competitors?
Стикаєтесь ви з
And in
конкуренцією?
general,
І
is the
взагалі, чи
competition
висока
high in this
конкуренція у цій
field?
ніші?
I believe there are around 30 startups currently trying to commercialize nuclear fusion electricity production. While we believe our approach is superior, and there are many others trying to do the same.
Енергію, виробництво
Так.
електроенергії з ядерного синтезу.
Угу.
Звичайно, ми думаємо, що наш підхід є найкращим, але ці варіанти, які вони
The experimental reactors that scientists are testing come in a variety of forms. They utilize different technologies and are built different upon distinct physical processes. As a result, it is possible that in the future we may see multiple types of reactors rather than just one.
Також може бути, що у майбутньому буде не один реактор, а 2-3 різних варіанти реакторів, які працюють на різних паливах чи у різних вимогах краще, небо тому буде потреба в різних технологіях.
Так, звісно.
Different technologies require different types of fuels or operate in different ways to meet specific requirements. As a result, diverse technologies necessitate varying types of fuel or energy sources. Despite this, there is always competition in the market, and it's commonly said that having competition
Так.
is essential to ensure that one's ideas are sound. It's also crucial to consider the market and its trends when developing new technologies and fuel sources. By understanding the market, developers can create products that meet the demand and provide a competitive edge.
бізнесів завжди є місто на ринку.
Of course,
звісно.
this field is
Просто,
still not
все
very
ж таки,
widespread
ця
because
галузь ще є
for this
така
you need
доволі,
serious and complex
не
decision.
дуже
And that's
розповсюджена,
why
і для
there are
цього
probably
треба
a little
серйозні
less
складні
competitors
рішення.
here.
І тому все ж таки,
But
певно,
it
тут
can be
трошки
more
менша
specific
конкуренція,
and
але
fully
вона може
directed.
бути більш конкретною
However,
і
you need to
цілеспрямованою.
catch the moment and
Тобто
analyze the
тут все одно
competitors
потрібно
and their activity
ловити
in
момент,
order
так,
to
і
become
аналізувати
more
конкурентів
effective
і
and
свою
better
діяльність
for
для
the
того,
world.
щоб вона все ж таки ставала більш ефективною і краще для світу.
We
У нас
have
є
the next
наступне
question.
питання.
Did you follow the
Чи
opportunity
розглядали
of
ви
crowdfunding
можливість
for your
краудфандингу
project?
для вашого проекту?
No, we haven't. So there are different arguments regarding the subject I'm about to discuss.
Не знаю, ну, є різні.
However,
Я
I
можу-
have to
я
say that we are not
маю сказати,
in the
що
position to
ми
explain this product in the end. Additionally, collecting money from wealthy individuals will be an arduous task that we need to address.
то
Regarding the technical aspects, nuclear synthesis and nuclear fusion work in different ways. It's important to know that in nuclear synthesis, uncontrolled reactions such as those seen in Chernobyl or Fukushima are impossible, although the process is dangerous and it is easier to construct compared to traditional nuclear power plants.
було б дуже тяжко.
However, many people fail to understand this difference. This is why we need to educate everyone before crowdfunding. This process is challenging and can be even more difficult in countries like Germany, where they have abundant nuclear power. Nonetheless, it might be easier in other countries, such as in America.
Зрозуміло. Так, зрозуміло.
Okay, let's
Добре,
move to the
давайте
next
переходимо
question.
тоді до наступного
Our
питання.
next question
Наше
is,
наступне питання
what
таке.
mistakes did
З
you
якими
make at the
помилками
beginning
ви
of your
стикались на
activity?
початку
Maybe
вашої
you could
діяльності?
advise a
Можливо,
startup how
ви
to
могли
avoid such
порадити
mistakes.
стартапам, як таких помилок уникати. Що саме
What
могло
could be the
стати
reason?
такою
Maybe the wrong
причиною?
team or the wrong
Можливо,
organized
не та
working
команда,
process? What
або
helped you to avoid the
якось
first
неправильно
mistakes
організований
when
робочий
you start your
процес?
own
Що вам
business?
допомогло б уникнути перших помилок при початку роботи з новим бізнесом?
Ну, я думаю, що
I think
я думаю,
we are
зараз,
focusing on startups that existed before
стартапи,
Marvel
які
Fusion.
робив
While we are
Marvel
currently
Fusion,
working on a
тому що
project, we do not have a complete proof of concept that will work out as planned.
100%
It is important to know that we have made significant progress in growth as a company over the years, despite encountering errors and making mistakes. Initially, we had some ideas that were implemented through programming, and the product has undergone significant changes over the first 3 years. We have learned that making mistakes is an inevitable part of the process, but it's important to identify them as soon as possible and take corrective action. Our main priority is to effectively communicate with our clients and potential customers to understand their needs and determine if our product can meet those needs. We believe that by doing so, we will be able to improve our product and provide better solutions to our clients.
І постійно питати себе, що ми можемо зробити, щоб ці помилки побачити якомога швидше і скоригувати якомога швидше. Тобто в даному случаї з продуктом, в випадку з продуктом, намагатися...
So, in conclusion, we understand the importance of acknowledging and correcting mistakes to achieve progress. We strive to constantly improve and provide the best possible service to our clients.
Yes, of course, I agree with you because we can all make mistakes. The main thing is not to stop at them, to move forward and try something new, or just try to improve your work.
Свою роботу, щоб по надальшому цих помилок уже не було, або була менша їх кількість.
I think it's a business habit when you feel that there is a mistake, but you want to correct it. It happens subconsciously. When you become an entrepreneur, you already feel these mistakes and have to correct them.
Напевно, так.
Great. Everyone is interested in the issue of budgeting and financing. How did you get your first investment? Tell us a little bit more about it.
Розкажіть нам трошечки більше про це.
Well, to start a business, you need a solid business plan and a PowerPoint presentation to showcase your idea to potential investors. It's crucial to convince them that your idea is worth investing in and it has the potential to make a profit. However, the question of investment is not as simple as it seems. It's important to understand that not all money is good money, and being a good investor is more than just providing funds. At the beginning of our company's journey, we decided to seek investment from multiple sources instead of relying on a single investor. We distributed parts of the company to different investors, which help us to diversify our risk and gain access to a wider range of the resources and networks. This approach is different from crowdfunding, while multiple investors contribute to small amounts of money in exchange for product or service. The investors in our company are more than just the financial contributors. They are invested in the company's results and are strategic partners who provide valuable guidance and support. We carefully selected our investors based on their expertise, experience, and industry connections, and we work closely with them to achieve our shared goals. The amount of money invested is a crucial factor to consider when seeking an investment. While more money can provide greater resources and opportunities, it also means that investors will have high expectations for returns, therefore must weigh the benefits or risk of each investment opportunity carefully. Building a strong network of contacts is crucial for the success of any business. Good investors can be instrumental in this regard. They can introduce you to other people, offer you valuable advice, whether good or bad, and help you grow your business. It's important to choose investors who are knowledgeable and experienced in your field. You should also consider working with multiple investors and diversify your risk and gain access to a wider range of resources. By collaborating with the right investors, you can build a solid foundation of your business and increase your chances of success.
Інвесторів, які мають добрі контакти в вашій галузі,
Так.
і спробувати знайти декілька людей, декілька таких інвесторів, яких ви зможете зацікавити і дати їм якусь частку в вашому майбутньому.
Yes, thank you for your answer. We have a question that is a bit similar to the previous one, but there is a different point. Who is more likely to get an investment, hardware startup or software?
Отримувати інвестиції, на відміну від софтвер стартапів.
Я не знаю. Я думаю,
I'm not sure. It seems like a very abstract question. However, I do know several successful hardware startups that have achieved great results, such as selling their business or going public. If you have a product that addresses a clear need and people understand its purpose, then it's a good idea and it won't be too difficult to secure funding.
So basically, there is no difference how to get an investment, whether it's hardware or software. The chances are equal.
Шанси рівні.
I believe this question stems from a few years back when starting a software startup required less cash than starting a hardware startup. However, over the years, the cost of doing software business has increased significantly. It's no longer possible for one or two programmers to sit together and launch something online without significant investment. On the other hand, the expansion of technologies such as 3D printing and rapid prototyping have made it easier to produce hardware. You can now send a CAD project to China and receive the finished project in just 2 weeks. This made the initial investment in IT startups rise, while the initial investment in hardware startups has decreased. Therefore, I think that adjustment can be made to reflect those changes.
Everything is probably connected with the development of technology because now is a high-tech era, the century where every startup has some technology in it. There is no startup that would not use any technologies. And in fact, I think that it's necessary to find investment for the both sides, just important to choose the right investors and position for your activity.
Просто потрібно правильно обирати інвесторів і позиціонувати свою діяльність. Так,
Думаю, так.
чудово.
Great.
А скажіть,
Tell me,
яка
what
можливо
innovation
інновація
or
або
technology will be a trend in your field in the next 5 years?
Наступні 5 років.
Ну, у
Well,
нашій
in our
галузі
field, it will be narrowly specialized. And
вузькоспеціалізовано.
when I'm talking again about laser technologies, I don't know, maybe someone read about it. It was about a year ago, a half ago. There were several
Я не
articles
знаю,
in the press about it.
можливо, хтось читав, це було десь 1,5 року тому, було декілька статей в пресі
At the National Ignition Facility in America, researchers achieved the first positive energy balance from the nuclear fusion using lasers. However, the effectiveness of their lasers was only around a 0.5% to no 1%. As a researcher, stated the energy output from his reactor was also 0.5%, but there are technologies available that can improve this by a factor of 50, such as the technology of LED, light emitting diodes. This technology will be essential in the building more effective lasers, and it will be a significant influence on the industry. Once we have electric energy from fusion, it will have a positive impact on the environment by reducing the emissions of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which is mainly caused by the product of the electricity. For instance, in the chemical industry or steel production, electricity can be used, but it needs to be produced in some way. Hence, these industries are expected to undergo significant changes with the advent of the new energy. Large language models, LLMs, are also expected to find numerous applications in the field of AI. This will be particularly interesting to watch.
Все окей. Я думаю, розумію.
Additionally, a significant change in the value of the launch in space is being observed. Besides Elon Musk's SpaceX, there's several other startups that offer cheaper ways to launch something into orbit. This technology can be crucial in the chemical processes and offers business a unique opportunity to leverage it.
неможливо зробити на
Also, working with the drugs, cosmetics, and other chemical products in a zero gravity environment, it will provide the opportunity to create molecules that are impossible to make on Earth. This can lead to exciting developments in the fields of medicine and chemistry.
Це
It's
дуже
a very
цікава
interesting
історія,
story because it's a very unusual industry and the technologies needed to develop this process are so high and they will be even higher in the future.
Вони такі великі і ще тільки в майбутньому вони будуть осяжними.
So, for every startup, it's interesting to find clients. You have a rather specific startup, but maybe you can give some advice to our startups on how to find the right customers, where to find them, and who they are.
Based on my experience with the previous startups, the first round of the future is the best. In my opinion, the best way to find new clients is through satisfied customers. You have to find the first one, two, or three, and make them happy with your product or service. This approach works better than any marketing strategy. However, I would mention that my previous startup was B2B and we didn't have millions of clients. We had dozens, maybe hundreds of clients, but not as many that we would print something. I found that exhibitions and conferences didn't have as much of an impact as word of mouth, recommendations, and satisfied customers.
Так.
з інших фірм.
Yes, very often one client's positive feedback can lead several more clients, and so you can build a part of your business on this. Of course, this will depend on the branch in which the enterprise works, because not for everyone such model will be relevant, but for yours, it's turned out to be the most effective.
Але для вашої, бачите, вона виявилась найдієвішою.
Так.
Tell me, at the moment, do you already have clients or you just working on the development of these technologies?
I guess it depends on your definition of clients. However, we have established contracts with the certain companies that have agreed to purchase our energy under specific conditions as soon as our installation is operational. We are currently working towards building a fully functional infrastructure that meets the requirements outlined in the contract. Once we have achieved this, we will start selling our energy to those companies. And until then, we are focused on developing our infrastructure to the highest standards to ensure that we can deliver the best possible product to our customers.
Дуже
Very
цікаво.
interesting.
Тобто,
So
власне,
you
у вас
are
уже
already
працює
have a
такий
pre-sales
процес
process
pre-sales.
when
Тобто
companies
деякі
have the
компанії вже
opportunity
мають
to
можливість
negotiate
з вами
with you
домовлятися
about
про
some
якісь
future
угоди про
cooperations.
Так.
Exactly. If you consider the energy market, you realize that it is heavily regulated. Even if we had a magical source of energy, we wouldn't be able to connect it to the network right away due to the numerous conditions that must be met.
Його під'єднати завтра до мережі, там потрібно
Ну,
дуже
звісно.
багато умов для цього,
Мгм.
але ми можемо працювати з якимись фірмами, які просто будуть брати в нас весь наш
However, we can utilize fibers that can transport the energy we produce for specific purposes, such as the chemical or metal industry.
які я казав до того.
Please tell me,
А скажіть,
how
будь ласка,
important
наскільки
is to
важливо, що
find
знаходити
partners?
партнерів?
Though partners who will
Тих
support
партнерів,
you
які
in
будуть вас
your
підтримувати
developments,
в
maybe
ваших
they will
розробках,
supply you
можливо, будуть
with some technology
надавати
or
якісь певні
specialists,
технології
because
або
for your
спеціалістів,
such high-tech
тому що
startup,
для таких
it is also necessary certain people who can do this job,
деякі зможуть
because
виконувати
it's not
цю
so
роботу,
easy.
а це не так просто.
Дуже добре запитання для нас.
Collaborating with industrial contacts can be a game changer for a tech startups. Often startups face specific issues that requires a specialized knowledge and skills to solve. In such scenarios, working with a company that specializes in solving those problems can be more beneficial than hiring a specialist. Collaborating with big companies, universities, corporations, and industries can also be adventurous as it offers advantages, as it offers access to new products and people who want to work with us. In addition to this, working with the state institutions can also be crucial for startups. For instance, in Germany, there are state investments in nuclear synthesis, and collaborating with them despite the slow process can offer several benefits. Money is not just an investment, but it also a source of a credibility and useful contacts. This can make it easier to talk to the other people and gain their trust. The startup board as a good investor is not just about the money, it's also about their experience, connections, and industry knowledge. A good investor can offer valuable insights and advice, which can help startups avoid common pitfalls and accelerate their growth. Therefore, it is essential to choose investors who not only provide funding but also bring something more to the table.
Ну, звісно.
Що
Мгм,
нам
мгм.
довіряє держава.
А
Is
чи
it
важко
difficult to
взагалі
find
знайти
a
от
common
спільні
contact
контакти
with a
з
state
державою,
if
так,
you are
якщо
an
ви от
enterprise,
підприємство,
a
такий
startup?
стартап,
Was it
чи
difficult
було
for
вам
you
важко
to
мотивувати
establish
людей?
contact?
Важко.
Ну, то просто
I mean, it's a job that, as they say, is a cycle of routine. When you think about some politicians, they seem to be involved in the every aspect of life, from agribusiness to space travel. They are always busy and have little time for anything else.
Агробізнесу до Space Travel вони роблять все. Вони не мають час ні
In
на
order
що,
to
ні на
effectively
що.
communicate your ideas or products to others, it is important to have a consistent plan of explaining things in detail. This requires a regular practice and careful consideration of how present information. While it may take some effort, investing time into improving your communication skills can be extremely beneficial into a long run.
Ви пояснюєте ваші ідеї, ваші продукти цим людям і спрацювати з цим. Але це дуже важливо. Я думаю,
I believe that it is highly significant for all the technology startups to comply with the regulations. This is particularly important for us in terms of security requirements and licensing. Without proper preparation, it can become extremely challenging to take action. Hence, it is crucial to ensure that all necessary licenses and security requirements are met before launching a product.
державу до того, щоб вони прийняли ваш продукт.
Звісно, так, тому що для держави
That's
потрібно
why for the
багато
state a lot of
матеріалів,
materials,
інформації,
information,
доказів,
proofs
тому
are
що
needed
все ж таки це
because
вже
it's
такий,
already such a high level.
вищий рівень, так.
Well,
Скажіть,
tell
будь
me,
ласка,
what professionals
а
are the
які
most
фахівці
demanding in
зараз
the
є
activity
найбільш
of your
затребувані
company
в
now?
діяльності вашої компанії?
Maybe this is a
Найбільш,
specific position.
Наприклад, це якась конкретна посада.
Well, that's a provocative question.
All
Всі
experts
фахівці
are
важливі, це
important,
однозначно,
for sure.
але просто іноді для кожної галузі потрібно.
Our project focuses on the possibility of startup failing. If you were to ask about the most crucial aspects of IT security, it would be a flawed question, as you would end up being vulnerable where you are the most important. Having a good office manager in the company is vital. Without them, everyone will go without coffee and the office will be dirty. This can lead to employees leaving, making it the most important factor to consider. Physicists working with the laser plasma interaction, the interaction of lasers with the plasma are divided into theorists and experimentalists, and the experimentalists play a crucial role in the field.
Так.
All specialists are important, but the question is how difficult is to find them, because we know that a lot of specialists are needed for your work. Are there many of them? Is it easy to find them, or do you still look for them in cooperation with educational institutions, or do you look for the other ways?
Чи шукаєте іншими способами?
I think that recruiting candidates can be quite challenging. It can be difficult to understand the process of recruiting to identify suitable candidates who can work well with your team and to select the right people from a large pool of applicants.
Вибрати тих кандидатів, які вам підходять, з якими ви зможете працювати. То цей процес є важкий.
For instance, if we put a LinkedIn job posting, we may receive 20 applications in a week. And while there may be some good candidates among them, it can still be a tough task to choose the most suitable one.
Так, звісно, розумію вас.
Yes, of course, I understand you. We have the next question. We always have work, but very often people and starting entrepreneurs can get burnout. That is when they made a mistake in their work, sometimes something went wrong, and they give up and let go. Or it can be purely and burning out because a person has been working for a very long time on the same project. Have to fight it, and give us some tips and advice.
Ну, я думаю, що в моєму прикладі працювало.
In my personal experience, I was talking to people who don't work on the same project. And as much as you can tell, most of them were interested in it. It's helpful to know that people appreciate what you do, especially when you feel like you are not making any progress. The feeling of burnout is often caused by the lack of the clear results. You may work very hard every single day, but you don't see where it is all going. And the solution is to find a project in your company that can be completed within a short period of time, like a week or maybe a month. This will give you a sense of the accomplishment and help you see the results of your work. It could be something as simple as improving the office or creating new flyers.
Можна зробити на протязі якогось не дуже довгого часу, тобто там тиждень чи місяць, який щось зробить краще, і який ви зробите і побачите результати цієї праці. То може буде просто зробити щось краще в офісі, чи зробити якісь нові флаєри, чи або якісь зробити для себе якусь.
There's another solution is to set a goal for yourself that you can achieve and be satisfied with it.
Thanks to achieving some specific goals, you support your
Саме
motivation.
завдяки досягненню певних своїх цілей ви і підтримуєте свою мотивацію, а не навпаки втрачаєте її.
Yes, exactly.
Great. Also, we have a question about how to adapt your product or service to the market requirements. I mean, sometimes a lot of new technologies are coming out. Is it worth trying them all, or is it worth using some plan, analysis? How do you do it?
Використовувати якийсь план, аналіз, як ви це робите?
It is crucial not only to have a fantastic product, as I was saying that at the very beginning, you need also to ensure that it is the best, but to also communicate to the market why they require this product. To achieve this, one needs to understand the market and its audience is largely depends on the market and target audience. It is imperative to systematically analyze and comprehend its market. This includes its cost, alternatives available, how people currently fulfill their needs, and what you can offer for them.
Що коштує, які є альтернативи, як люди задовольняють свої потреби сьогодні і що ви можете їм запропонувати.
Thank you
дякую
for your
вам за
answers.
відповідь.
Now we
Бачимо,
don't
що
have
у
any
нас,
questions from our
наші питання
startups,
вже підійшли до
so
завершення.
we can
І ми
move
можемо
to the
переходити до
next
останнього
mini
такого
stage of our
міні-етапу
interview.
нашого
It's
Це,
rapid-fire
момент
questions.
відпитань.
During this
Під
moment,
час
I will
цього,
ask you short questions,
моменту я буду
and you
задавати
can
вам
give them
короткі
short
питання. І ви
answers.
можете надавати на них коротку відповідь.
Окей, спробуємо.
Okay,
Давайте
let's
спробуємо.
try.
І
The
перше
first question
питання
is,
буде, це який
which
лідер
thought
навколо
leader
вас
inspires
є у
you?
вас така особа?
That's a good question. I want to say it may change from time to time. I just recently read a book by Simon Sinek where he wrote about motivation and how to team build.
Мені останнім часом я щось дивився, слухав, читав. Є такий Саймон Сайнек, який пише про мотивацію і про тімбілдинг. Але я хочу сказати, ще не сотворі собі кумира.
Correct, I agree with you. You can listen to the advice, but you shouldn't follow them.
Well, I mean, you need to take what you see as important and what will help from each person and find some balance between all of those advices and use it when it's necessary.
Yes. The next question is, what type of relaxation do you prefer? Active or passive rest?
Чи пасивний відпочинок?
I believe that changing your job could be the ultimate way to relax. Sleeping for 12 hours may not always help me, and in the short term, having a conversation with interesting people could be a great way to unwind.
То мені то не дуже допоможе.
Так, розумію. А який із
Найкраще, я не знаю, це напевно короткочасне, це якась розмова з цікавими людьми, тобто піти з якимись цікавими друзями.
For instance, spending an evening with some fascinating friends and discussing non-business related topics can be an excellent way to relax.
Напевно, так.
Угу. Так,
Yes,
чудово.
great.
Наступне питання у
The
нас
next
таке.
question is,
Якби ви
what
мали можливість
superpower
отримати
would you like to have
то
for
що б
work?
ви
Mind
обрали?
reading or time
Читати
control?
думки чи керувати часом?
What do you mean by controlling time?
Це коли ти,
This is
наприклад,
when you can
можеш час
stop the
розтягнути
time or
або,
control it.
Щоб додалось часу щось зробити. Або зупинити,
I'll probably choose to control the time.
керувати
yeah.
часом.
Багато часу, так.
Thanks.
Наступне питання.
Next
Книга,
question.
яка
Which
змінила
book
ваше
changed
життя?
your life?
Чи є така?
Окей.
Okay, so it probably will be the quote I want to refer is from the Man of One Book, which I'm not sure how it translates to Ukrainian. I believe that one doesn't necessarily have to follow a particular book, but there's a one old book which I gained some valuable insights from. However, not everything written in it makes sense to me, and I want to stress this point. The idea it took from is about getting things done and how to create an effective to-do list. I have also came across similar ideas in the other books.
Я з неї виніс, я потім бачив і в інших книгах. Це getting things done. Як готувати свій to-do list, щоб ефективно з цим працювати. Getting things done. Я не пам'ятаю автора.
Дякую.
Thank
Наступне
you.
питання.
Next question.
Коли справа
When it comes to
доходить до навчання,
study, would you
що
prefer
більше
self-education
імпонує,
or
саме
formal
освіта чи
education?
формальна освіта?
I guess the word self-education will be just right.
Self-education. Maybe
Тому
it's
що
easier
простіше
to
чомусь
learn
навчитись,
something,
так,
you can
можна
monitor, use
моніторити,
the resources that are best for you.
Для вас точечно є так найкращими. А якісь
Тому що
курси?
можна
Yeah, because you can pick up the speed, that is, choose to skip things that you already know and spend more time on what you don't know yet and maybe you want to try. That's why it is worth it.
витрачати на тому, що ти ще не знаєш і хочеш спробувати. Тому освіта.
Very
Так,
interesting.
цікаво.
Another
Ще
question.
одне питання.
What is the
Яка
number one
цінність
value
номер
for
один для
your
вашої
team?
компанії?
Probably the initiative of each person and how it will pull the innovation.
виробника і його як то буде, тяга до інновацій.
Так,
То-
тяга
Yes, innovation. Good.
Ага.
We have
Чудово.
already talked about
Ми
it,
вже
but one
говорили
more
про це,
time.
але ще таке
What is the
питання.
main
Далі,
trend
щоб
in your
підсумувати. Який
industry?
же все-таки головний тренд у вашій галузі?
Ну,
I mean, if we define our range as the production of electricity, then it is a reduction of extraction of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and the production of the environmental concerns.
Тобто
Мгм.
виробітка, environment concerns.
Так.
Our next
Яку
question
пораду
is,
ви
what
брали
advice
собі
would
на
you give
початку
to
кар'єри?
yourself at the
От
beginning
якби
of
ви
your
могли
career?
повернутися і дати собі якусь пораду.
Напевно,
I think I would help myself to get better to work with other people in the team and to learn how to work with other people. So I could learn that other people have different perspectives, and if you give something to delegate, the result will always be the same as you would have done. Maybe better, maybe worse, but learn to live with it and to work with it, because you will not be able to make big projects alone. The best option would be to clone yourself and try to work in such team, but it is impossible. So learn to work in a group of people as quickly as possible.
Себе клонувати 100 разів і працювати в такій команді може бути, але то неможливо, тому вчитися працювати в команді якомога швидше.
Дуже круто,
Cool.
дуже
Very
цікава
interesting
відповідь.
answer.
Е,
So, the
питання.
question.
Яку
Which
звичку ви
habit
б
would you
рекомендували
recommend every
розвивати,
entrepreneur to
починаючим
develop?
підприємцям? От якась дуже корисна звичка, яка вам, наприклад, би колись допомогла.
Шукати
To look for an extraordinary way to solve problems. To look at the problems from different angles and not to get stuck in open view
не
things.
зациклюватись, мати відкритий погляд на речі.
And the
Ну,
key
і
question
ключове
is,
питання.
what is
Ваша
your
порада
advice to
стартапам в
startups in
одному
one
слові, в
word?
одному речі.
Persistence.
Persistence, of
Наполегливість.
course,
Чудово,
because
так,
without
звісно,
it,
тому що
it's
без,
hard to achieve any success.
наполегливості, в принципі, зараз важко досягнути якогось успіху. Чудово.
That's
На
all for
цьому, в
today.
принципі,
We want to
наше
thank Pavlo for
питання,
such an interesting
закінчилось.
interview.
Ми
He shared
хочемо
with
дуже
us very
подякувати
useful
Павлу за таку
insights,
цікаве
stories,
інтерв'ю,
advice
за таку
for our
цікаву
startups.
розповідь. Він поділився
We
з
also
нами,
want to thank
такими
all
корисними
participants who joined
інсайтами,
us today.
історіями,
Thanks for
порадами для
your
наших
questions
стартаперів,
in the chat.
підприємців.
And also, we
Також хочемо
invite you to
подякувати всім
join the
учасникам,
next
які
episode
сьогодні
of
до
the
нас
Yumi App
долучилися.
Startup
Ми були
Experience.
раді отримувати ваші запитання в чаті. Запрошуємо вас також долучатись до наступних випусків Yumi App Startup Experience. Не забувайте
Like, comment,
ставити свої
share with
лайки,
your friends,
залишати
and join
коментарі,
our
ділитися з
program,
друзями
because we
та
have a lot of
приєднуватися
interesting
до нашої
things for
програми,
you.
тому що на
We are
вас
glad to
чекає
talk to you
дуже багато
today.
цікавого.
Thank you so much,
І
and
були
have
раді
a nice
сьогодні
day.
з вами поспілкуватися ще раз. Дуже дякуємо. Гарного вам дня.
Thank you for the invitation, Alexandra. See you later.
Thank
Дякуємо.
you.
До
See you
зустрічі.
soon.